I think by the time the Switch 2 comes out, the sales are going to be so ludicrous, they'll probably be giving you the games. This is by far the best I've seen in the US in a very long time, and we've got some decent little ones here in the EU as well. Not quite as good, but I'm sure we'll see them in the next week or so. Congrats to our winner. Well done. This is your winning comment. Ping me an email and I'll get you a free game. If you want to win, make sure you leave a comment. I choose someone each week. Alright, let's fill this episode with lots of games and not so much waffling, and a nice new section at the end called Extra Life. What are the best games on sale? Well, let's find out. First up, down to its cheapest ever price. This one didn't come out long ago. It's Promenade. It's just £11.24, that's half price. We reviewed it on the channel and absolutely loved it. It comes from Holy Cap Studio, which is an awesome name, it has to be said. And it's a platformer that feels a bit like the old school N64 platformers, but in a 2D format. There are different bosses and dungeons to explore, which you probably wouldn't think when you first saw it, and you're collecting up little cogs to help you repair the Great Elevator, which is how you then unlock new levels. It also has a brilliant soundtrack, well worth considering. As I say, the cheapest it's ever been. That sale goes on Promenade until June the 21st.
A big thank you to Factor 75 for sponsoring this episode. Factor 75 are essentially a meal delivery service, taking the stress out of preparing meals by having ready-made meals delivered to your door. You can eat stress-free this summer with Factor's delicious ready-to-eat meals. Each fresh meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. It's also very flexible in terms of your orders. When things get hectic, you can change your order up every week with planned from 4 to 18 meals per week, or pause or reschedule deliveries anytime. It takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success, whilst including popular options such as Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Me being a vegetarian myself, this is ideal, and I've been on a real protein focused diet for a good 18 months now, as well as doing extra exercise, so the Factor 75 service has been a blessing. You can get 50% off of your first Factor box and 20% off of your next month of orders using our link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code that has been on the screen with your phone to get started. Once again, a big thank you to Factor 75 for sponsoring this video. Please do check them out below. Doing so will not only get you some great meals, but it does also help out SwitchUp, so thanks to anyone that does so.
Another one in the UK, 80% off Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles, down to £4.59, yes please. Not a completely polished game, but one that grows on you the more you play it. It combines elements of different things like RPG, sim life, and you've got quite a nice big world to explore. It took me a couple of goes to get into this one, but for what, £4? If you like this genre, then certainly worth considering. That sale for Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles goes on until July the 4th. Now, I'm sure you can tell I'm trying to move through these relatively quickly today because we have so many extras. But next up is one that deserves a little bit of time, and it's Sea of Stars. This is where the US really starts to kick off with the better deals. You've got the 25% lowest ever price discount on that one this week, and it's a classic style RPG centering around 2 children known as Children of the Solstice. Now, a lot of people criticise the writing here. I think it's worth noting going into it, it is a little more simplistic in terms of its written narrative, but I actually liked it. I liked the heart of it. It just felt like a cheerful and enjoyable, light-hearted RPG to play. If you're looking for something super deep, this probably isn't it. I'd head towards something like Chained Echoes, which I think is also on your sale in the US. But we've got reviews of both of them, so you can go check them out and see what tickles your fancy the most. Off the back of that, you've got Hollow Knight at 50% off. Everyone is saying, you know, it's looking likely that a certain game is close just because we have the Hollow Knight sale. We've also got the Hollow Knight free trial, but I would not be getting my hopes up, honestly. It would be lovely. Look, don't get me wrong. I more than anyone want Silksong to come out, but I am a bit worried that the hype machine might be putting a little bit too much, well, hypey goodness on Silksong, so that when it comes out, inherently there'll be people, or invariably I should say, that feel a little bit, you know, like it doesn't meet that level of hype. Even if it was just as good as Hollow Knight, I'd be delighted. So if you haven't played that yet, you should definitely check it out. Stupidly cheap to begin with and ridiculously cheap on sale. That's half price until June the 19th. Return to Monkey Island. Yes, thanks. This sees Guybrush Threepwood, the mighty pirate, back on his adventures. Amazing, so good. I love the way they continue the story from Monkey Island 2. Don't panic, I'm not saying there aren't other games, but it did, according to the actual developer, continue that story from there. And I loved it, just hearing the voice actors again, the feeling of it was so smooth. I like the transition to 3D, the way it's done here. But it made me laugh, more importantly, and I got to see that idiot Skull. Man, I'd missed him. What a game. Return to Monkey Island, half price until June the 20th in the American regions. Tunic is an excellent, very difficult action-adventure game that's half price over in the US, down to $14.99. The unique mechanic, or I don't know if you can call it a mechanic, but as you progress through the adventure, you actually rebuild the game's manual, and it's such a cool design. It looks quality. I don't know if you can get can you get a physical of this that has the manual in it? Because that would be, yeah, I'd like that a lot. Now, Tunic was developed by Isometric Corp Games. I believe this is their only title on Switch. I'm not sure if they've made any other games. Let me know in the comments, because I'd be quite keen to play other things from this developer, definitely. The sale for this goes on until June the 20th. Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered is down, I think it's 25% to its cheapest ever price of $22.49. Another that I reviewed on the channel, had a really good time with it. I think they did a really good job of making it so you could switch between the old and the new style graphics to suit your own personal tastes. They did do a couple of wonky things, like some of the controls were a bit dodgy. So you had this new scheme of controls for things like the combat, and it was just a bit wonky for targeting and stuff. And I found that I was constantly going back to the old scheme. Now, they've released a massive update that has improved that quite a bit. They've also tweaked a few quality of life things here and there. And yeah, if you like the original Tomb Raider games, I think they hold up to this day. I know there was a bit of silliness. What did they do? They tried to change some of the posters in the game or something for our own benefit to protect us from the past. Yeah, I don't like that. That's just stupid, really. But the actual games themselves, very good. And the sale, 25% off, goes on until June the 20th. Personally, I think Rogue Legacy 2 is one of, if not the most underrated roguelikes that we've got on Nintendo Switch. It's just a sublime game, it really is. If you've not heard of it for whatever reason, it's such a cool concept. Essentially, you start off by selecting one of the descendants within this, land, realm, whatever you want to call it. You have 3 choices, so they'll have unique genetic traits passed down to them. One of them might be massive, like super hench, and good at melee combat, or you might have a very quick one. Or you might have a descendant that's a pacifist and can't use any weapons but gains double the gold. In practice, it's very precise, feels fantastic, and I was really surprised it didn't get more coverage when it came out. Again, full review, go check it out, because I think this one just deserves more attention. It's like roguelike perfection, but be warned, it is ridiculously addictive. That's 45% off, the cheapest it's ever been in the American regions until June the 20th. Death's Door is down to its cheapest ever price, $6.99. You guys, oh man. I really do hope this comes over to the EU, because we're getting crushed here. Death's Door sees you playing as a little crow, has those Souls-like elements, feels like a mixture of a Souls game and Tunic, which we spoke about a minute ago. I love how bleak the world is, but also there's something quite charming, I think is the word, quite charming about it. You've got freedom to some extent to explore, but you will have to defeat certain bosses. One of them looks like a building, it looks like a church, like an old Gothic church. I got destroyed by that a few times. A fun little game. Again, another one that we have a full review of if you want to go check that. That sale in the American regions goes on until June the 20th. Lots of EU backlogs are surviving, I think, but we haven't got to the Savaloys yet. Last but not least then, before we look at those Savaloys and the new Extra Life section specifically because of this sale, we've got Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp that Glen really does love, and I think for him it's one that he thinks is potentially a little underappreciated in terms of, I guess, things like sales and the amount of coverage it got, but it is a little more expensive, I have to say. It's down 30%, that is the cheapest it's ever been, You can also get the physical sometimes quite cheaply, but you do obviously have both of the games reimagined, or remastered, or remade I should say. I can't get the words out today. And outside of those two massive campaigns, you've also got versus mode, and you can have up to 4 players. We need more multiplayer strategy, just in general, like multiplayer strategy. And why don't they have more co-op multiplayer strategy? My favourite game when I was a kid was, and this makes me sound like a right nerd, is I used to link 2 PlayStation 1s together and I'd play linked Command & Conquer in co-op, and it was just brilliant. Like, we need more of that, in my opinion. In my very humble old man opinion. The sale for Advance Wars goes on until June the 17th. Which takes us then onto our lovely Savaloy Selection, whether it be Fedcooks, or Savaloys, or hot dogs, or the abundance of delightful treats you always talk about. These are the games that are cheap and cheerful, and they certainly won't break your bank. You've got Broken Lines, which I did mention in our midweek sale, 95% off, down to $3.49 for this tactical turn-based game that I don't think many people have played or heard of. And it has an insanity mechanic where you're trying to keep everyone essentially sane. Then you've got Lost in Play. That was one of my pickups. It was just $3.99. I think that's the cheapest it's ever been. I just saw the artwork and it looked like a kind of reminded me of an old school point and click or an adventure game, and I was like, yeah, that just looks quality. Looks like it was drawn by the Futurama artists, but it's like an adventure puzzle game, and so far I'm enjoying it for that price. Yes, please. Civilization 6 at 90% off, $2.99. Think how much gameplay that's got. You can play that for hundreds and hundreds of quality hours for $2.99. If you don't own that, my goodness, get that in your backlog. I mean, in your playlist. Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, something a little different there. One from my childhood, but it has the new style visuals. You can switch back and forward for $2.99. It's worth it just for the nostalgia. And then Oceanhorn at 75% off. This is another one. It's been out ages, but that kind of price, £3.37. It's a lovely one to consider. So then, as I say, you in the US have such a ridiculous sale. I'm going to give you this section called Extra Life. I'm not going to go into these in detail. I'm literally just going to tell you very quick fire. You've got Death's Gambit Afterlife, the massive reimagined Metroidvania, 45% off, $10.99. Yes, please. Dragon Quest XI's, that doesn't get many sales. It's 30% off, one of the best JRPGs of all time. It still holds up incredibly well. That's $34.99. Xenoblade 3. Rumour has it that I'm actually doing a review of that one. Don't ask for an ETA. It's a bit like Silksong in that regard. Immortals Phoenix Rising. I've put it on here. It gets a ton of mentions, but this is the cheapest it's ever been in the US. Cocoon is also the cheapest it's ever been in the US. Great game, that. Very well designed. And then last but not least, The Lion King and Aladdin bundle. That's down to actually a very reasonable price finally, at 65% off. Realistically, what's that, $6.99? That's what it should have been. It should have been like $10. These two older games. So yeah, if you want a bit of nostalgia, consider those. So that is it. What an absolute beast of a video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like supporting SwitchUp and you like food, do go check out the sponsor of this episode. I know quite a few of you have actually tried that out. They said they got a good response. And then the people that have said they liked it. So happy days. Thank you to our Patreons, our members, all of you that support us on SwitchUp. It is just Glen and I. There is no behind the scenes corporation helping us out. So your comments and interaction is most valuable. Oh, and to all the people that have been playing Star Wars Hunters with me. It's funny, the amount of invites, like it's ludicrous. The amount of it, like I'm not trying to have a big head, but the amount of like game invites I keep getting, that's really nice. And I've been playing with a load of different people, and we've lost a lot. I'm so sorry. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya.